Um, yes, this session is called making mail sing. So it's about it's largely about copywriting and the way that we approach writing mail packs at Red Sea. It's not solely about copywriting, though. I'm going to try and cover 5 or 6 topics. I'm going to talk to you about the various sort of aspects of a mail pack that you have to consider to try and improve the results that you get from it. So I'm going to talk about envelopes, and I'm going to talk about how to open a letter. I'm going to talk about the kind of things that you might put inside an envelope. I'm going to talk a little bit about formats, and I'm going to answer the question that we always get asked about direct mail, which is how long should the copy be? So I'm going to kind of whiz through all of that. As Steve said, if you have any questions about anything that I'm saying, feel free to use the chat box, and I'll pick those up afterwards. Okay, so first up, a quick plug. Actually, this presentation is essentially sort of structured around this piece of content, which you can find on our website, called the Direct Mail Fallout Model. If you are interested in direct mail, it's quite a useful tool. The way it basically works is it explains how somebody looks at a piece of direct mail. It's based on an eye tracking study that we did quite a few years ago, and it sort of explains the stages of readership in which you lose readers, and then the things that you can do to try and keep people reading, or to ultimately get a response out of them. So that's on our website, and it's it's free for you, so it's worth having a look at. Okay. So the starting points, I think, whenever I talk about sort of marketing communication channels, I always think the best place to start is to think about what that channel offers you as a sort of benefit over other channels. So I think the thing to say about mail is that mail is still quite a powerful marketing for a number of reasons. Is that hard to ignore something that comes through your letterbox, particularly if it's got your name on it. Royal Mail research says that about 90% of mail that comes through the letterbox gets opened, and actually that's a lot to do with the fact that actually it doesn't really have to compete with an awful lot of attention. It's not one television ad in the middle of 6 other television ads. Generally, you get less mail through the letterbox these days. So actually, when something does arrive, it gets your attention. Mail's something that it kind of demands to be read and acted upon as well, particularly if it comes in an envelope. As I say, most mail packs get open. So actually, when something comes through the door in an envelope, you're kind of pre-programmed to open it and take a look, even briefly at the contents inside. The other thing to say is that actually it's a very good vehicle for lots and lots of information. I mean, actually you can include as much or as little as you want in a mail pack, but whereas online the tendency actually is to write less. If you think of an email, for example, you're trying to write in as concise a manner as possible. Actually, the nature of a mail pack is that people will open it and scan through it and then consider it at length. Mail packs often get taken away and put somewhere else in the home for people to come back and look at them later. And so actually they will, if it's interesting, people will read quite a lot. And of course the other thing is the fact that it literally puts your product in front of people. So the difference, I suppose, online communications, if you think of your website sort of sits there passively waiting for people to arrive to it. But actually one of the advantages of mail is it allows you to put your product in front of people and act as a prompt. So if you want some evidence of the power of mail, cast your mind back to the beginning of lockdown. Every country was sent this, a personal letter from the Prime Minister, basically telling people to stay at home. This was announcing lockdown, if you like. And I think what this says is there's very few forms of communication that still carry as much gravitas as a letter from someone important. You know, we letters from for our mail order clients that come from a director. You know, a director's letter still gets a very good response. So again, it's that idea when something comes through the letterbox and it's, you know, it's addressed to you, it's from the Prime Minister. Actually, this is something that, you know, that you will read and you will take notice of. Now, obviously, this is a, you know, this is a unique example, something that was sent in exceptional circumstances. But take a look at this. If you live in a postcode that has a Domino's shop, you'll probably get one of these every month. I know I do, and that, in a sense, this is quite interesting to me because, you know, Domino's were very early adopters of a lot of, if not most of their sales come through the app and through the online process. But actually, what they discovered was when they stopped sending these little sending these out to people in the towns where they're based, they find that sales drop. And I think, again, it comes back to this idea that actually if you send someone something in the post, something useful, you know, it's the kind of thing that'll get stuck on the fridge or pinned up on the kitchen notice board, and it acts as a prompt. It brings the brand inside the home. And actually, you know, when it's Two for Tuesday, or you're watching the football, or, you know, something like that, having the menu there acts as a prompt to act. So, you know, mail is powerful. I'm going to talk a little bit about sort of formats later on, but for the majority of this, I guess I'm kind of basing this talk on mail packs that pretty much consist of an envelope, a letter, and some inserts. So when the mail pack comes through the door, ultimately what you want to happen is you want to get it opened. And I think really there's you can do to try and make that happen. The first is to write an interesting, I called it a headline. When you think of the lines that go on an envelope, it's the same sort of mentality as a subject line that you write for an email, or a headline that goes on a press ad. The idea is to be interesting. It's meant to pique your interest and make you want to read on and find out more. Second thing to remember is that envelopes are double-sided, and you never know which on the letterbox. Basically, it gives you two sides to play with, so always use the front and the back, even the little flap as well, and spell. Tell the reader what they're going to find when okay, because you're always trying to reach the people who are most likely to respond. Okay, so tell people what the proposition is, and then you make sure that those people will open the envelope. And the other thing to do, direct marketing, always be testing. If you watched Adrian's masterclass last week, you'll have he a system that allows you to sort of test mail packs and propositions in a way that's quite cost effective. It's really, really important to keep evolving your mail packs and testing them. So here's a few techniques for sort of headlines. One of the things you can do, I got one of these the other day actually, or rather my wife did. We're a Volkswagen family, so we've got two Volkswagen cars. Address as if they're part of humans are herd creatures, and they sort of they like to feel that they're part of a particular gang, if you like, or a particular club. So people attach themselves to brands they like. So see this in the back of Sunday newspapers. It'll say an exclusive wine offer for Sunday Times readers. An exclusive offer for Volkswagen owners, or an exclusive offer for our VIP customers. By giving it that sort of exclusivity, you often find that you get more opens. Pose a question. Ever worry that you might be paying too much for car insurance? This is a question where we know that the answer is yes. Most people feel that they're overpaying for their insurance in one way or another. So that's another useful approach. Use specific numbers. When you use a specific number, it gives the message credibility. So this is an envelope line for a life insurance company. So it says in just 12 minutes, you can protect your family for life. By using the specific number, it suggests that you've actually timed it and worked out that that's how long it takes. So it lends the message some credibility. Now you can listen to the books you're too busy to read. If you start a headline with the word now, it's new, and therefore, it's something that you couldn't do before, but you can do now. So it's worth looking at in more detail. Unearth the world's wonders while you still can. So this is a headline that we wrote for a travel company. It was actually one of these. It's a brochure offering their sort of last remaining spaces on a particular tour. So the idea was to build a bit of urgency into the message. So so we wanted to offer a benefit, that piqued the curiosity of the reader. Unearth the world's wonders while you still can. So there's not much time left. Flatter your prospect. I'll talk about this a little bit later as well when we look at opening letters. Special VIP privilege reserved for you, and then underneath it's got the address carrier. It makes it feel like the person has been allocated a particular benefit. That often works quite well. On a similar line, I suppose, what we say about going official can often work well as well. So if you're sending someone a discount, if you make the envelope look like it's come from a particular department and that this discount has been officially allocated, and you design the pack to give it this sort of look of officialness, that can be very, very powerful. Sometimes it's just a teaser. Read less and know more. I think this is from a magazine company. I think it's The Week, actually, who basically what their proposition is. It's all about, they have a magazine that sums up the big stories, big current affairs stories of the week. So it's about learning a lot, but not having to read too much. Here's a couple of examples of what I've been talking about in practice. So this is a pack I got the other day from Lakeland. So dry clothes, whatever the weather. It's quite apt today. Officially the start of autumn, I think. That's the main benefit. So dry clothes, whatever the weather. But you notice there's a little roundel there to encourage the open, which says open up to find your sizzling saving. So it gives you a reason to look inside in the envelope. But the back works particularly hard. So not only does it sell, this is like it's a clothes dryer, basically an electric clothes dryer that dries your clothes regardless of how wet it is outside. Quite a lot of copy on the back of that envelope, but actually, the proposition here is quite good. You win your money back. There's also in there that offers a number of prizes as well. So you're giving the reader as many opportunities or as many reasons as you can to open up the envelope and look inside. If you've seen my email masterclass, you'll know that I'm a big fan of this company. They're called Spoke. This is, again, something I got the other day. So they've used the flap of the envelope. If you think that the flap is guaranteed to get read because it's the point you actually have to stick your finger in and open it. So actually it's a good place for a message. They have a bit of fun with this. It says, lift the flap for autumn scratch and sniff, pumpkin spiced latte. And then when you open it, it says, no, sadly not. Lovely idea though, maybe next time. So, depending on what you sell, you can afford to be a little bit playful with your message. That's certainly something folk do. We talked about testing. This is a test that we ran for Royal London a couple of years back. The envelope on the left was the control pack. That was it. It was just white with that message on the front about the gift card. We tested two alternatives. both with the purple envelope reverse, which you can see at the bottom there, which basically tells you what the product is that we're selling and 4 key benefits of it. And then we tested 2 different fronts, one with a slightly more emotional message, help safeguard their future from 17p a day, again, using a specific number, versus pushing the gift card, which was the incentive at the time. The outperformed the offer pack quite considerably, so that then became the control going forward. So the contents of the rest of the mail pack stayed exactly the same. It was just the envelopes that were being tested. So it shows that actually even making a relatively small change to the mail pack, a different envelope, actually you can generate a much better response. The other tip there actually is that if you're running an incentive, we always find if you show a picture of it, you tend to get a better response. So you see on the left-hand side, the previous control had just said £50 Marks and Spencer gift card. We showed a picture of it, and actually, I think it makes it slightly more tangible. I think that's why it worked. To find that always works, showing the incentive. So once your reader has opened the envelope, we have found that most people will have a quick through the pack, and they'll probably spend about 30 seconds, or certainly no more than 30 seconds, having a quick look through. So the key here really is to make sure that your messaging and the design and the contents of the pack allow you to express the proposition as quickly as possible. So one of the things I think, or one of the mistakes I think that people often make is the idea that you should make it cleaner. In other words, strip lots of things back. We tend to find that's not the right approach, actually. Should really be doing is thinking direct mail design is really what I'd call organized chaos. So actually things can look busy, but if there is a logical tracking to the messages, then actually people will read it. And you're basically designing for 2 styles of readership. You're designing for people who are just going to scan very, very quickly and try and get the gist of what you're telling them. And then you're writing for people who are going to read in more detail. This is one of the first jobs we ever did for Royal London. And actually what we really did for them is just reordered the messaging. So on the left-hand side, we felt that there wasn't a logical flow to the way that this mail pack was structured. On the right-hand side, they had the address details for Royal London head office. That's in completely the wrong place. That's one of the first things that people will look at, but it's not relevant at this sort of early stage of readership. We felt that they weren't making enough of the offer. The offer was kind of buried and hidden underneath all of these sort of jar reference numbers. And there's no call to action. It doesn't actually tell you what to do on the front of this letter. On the right hand side, we basically redesigned it so that you could look straight down the side of the letter, or from top to bottom. You could understand what's being offered, how you buy it, 5 reasons why you should buy it, what else you'll find inside, and then 3 other ways that you can buy it. So even if you just gave a sort of this letter, actually you'd understand from the outset you were being asked, what you were being sold, and just by making those changes to the layout of the pack, actually we managed to generate an uplift in response. So you've accommodated your scan readers. The reader is kind of with that they're interested. So now we've got to try and persuade people, and this is where the letter really comes into its own. there are lots of different ways that you can open a letter, depending, you know, obviously it largely depends on what your proposition is. But these are 5 ways that a couple of them and a couple have come from other packs that I believe are bankers, because I've seen them, you know, year after year. So they're obviously doing well. So this first sort of is from, again, it's this magazine called The Week. So start with the offer. So join 329,000 people, all they need to know about everything that matters. Try The Week magazine for a concise, refreshing, balanced take on the news from the past 7 days, and get your first 6 issues completely free. So right from the outset, 2 things going on there. The first, state how many people are already doing this. You know, that's powerful. People like to feel that if lots of other people are doing it, it must be a good idea. So, you know, 329,000, again, a nice sort of specific number. And then get your first 6 issues completely free. So there's 2 things, 2 important points they're making in the first 2 sentences of the letter. On the right-hand side, flattering the reader rarely fails to get a good response. And we find this works particularly well in B2B mailings, actually. This was, I forget the name of the company now, they're a flooring company. And so we were writing architects and specifiers. So in other words, people who were going to, you know, redesign a hospital or a pub or a theme park or something like that. So we tailored the copy slightly to each sector, but basically it says, you know, as record of delivering inspiring commercial spaces, you probably get dozens of letters like this promising solutions for your next project, and I'm willing to bet you discard most of them. But since I believe you have a specialist understanding of the hospitality sector, I think you'll want to hear what I have to say next. So you talk to the reader on a level. So, you know, you say to them, look, I know you get a lot of letters like this, and I'm sure most of them go in the bin, but because I think you're brilliant at your job, you'll want to hear what I've got to say next. And actually all that is a trick to get them to read the next sentence, when I'll tell them what I've got to offer. Present a surprising fact. This is from a wine company. I think this is Naked Wines. So it says, did you know there's less than 40 pence worth of wine in a typical £1 supermarket bottle? Yet spend £10 and you get more than 7 times as much wine for your money. Find out the wine industry's dirty little secrets and enjoy a £30 Naked Wines voucher to try for yourself. So again, because you're presenting these sort of facts and figures, it gives the message some credibility. It means that this is, you know, it sounds like it's something that's been worked out, and therefore it's something that you can believe to be true. Okay, and what they're actually asking you to do is change your behaviour. They're asking you to you know, stop buying supermarket bottles of wine for £5, because actually you don't get very good wine in it. In fact, spend double that and you get 7 times as good a bottle of wine. So actually those facts and figures help to sort of underpin that proposition and make it more likely that you can change that behaviour. On the right hand side, this is an opening to a letter about life insurance. This is what's called a birthday mailing. So generally people will consider buying life insurance at certain points in their life, and landmark birthdays are quite key. So when you hit 40, when you hit 50, when you hit 60, these are sort of the times in your life when you start considering your own mortality. You start realizing, you know, you hit 40 and you realize you're about halfway through your life. You hit 50 and it's way to getting a bit older now. You hit, you know, you're becoming more aware of the sort of process of moving through your life. So actually these are the times when people choose to take out life insurance to protect partners or, you know, kids, family members, that kind of thing. So this is, when your birthday comes around, do you find yourself taking stock a little more? So, you know, we know that this is the case because we know people buy life insurance at these times of the year. So I'm asking a question that I know the answer is yes to. Yeah, I am I do find myself taking stock at this time of year. You know, do you perhaps worry how you'll provide for your family when you're not around anymore? Yeah, again, you know, this is something we know people are thinking about. Would you take comfort from knowing that life insurance starts from just 13p a day? So not only can you protect your family, it's incredibly cheap as well. 13p a day, you know, it's not very much at all. See how much you could provide your loved ones when they need it most. And then straight underneath is a table that says, for only this much per day, your family can get, you know, £10,000 or whatever the figure might be. So, you know, it's a small outlay for a big reward. That's quite powerful. Paint a word picture. This is something we wrote for a travel company. So this is all about appealing to the senses. So appealing to you know, people's sense of sight, smell, sound, to try and conjure an image, to try and transport the reader to a place they can go if they act on our mailing. So from the moment you step aboard, you're pampered. A steward shows you to your stateroom. We give you time to settle in, order room service before fellow passengers on deck for a big send-off from port. Champagne and a live jazz band spur on the jubilant atmosphere as the crowds waving aside are showered in confetti. There's no more exhilarating start to a holiday. So this is really, you know, this is a cruise basically. So this is, you know, these are expensive. It's a big purchase, and we want people to start picturing themselves enjoying this moment, you know, from the moment reading our mail pack. So, you know, appealing to the senses, particularly in, you know, for travel brands, is really powerful. Again, here's something that we did for Royal London based on that, you know, on that idea of sharing a surprising fact. So a lot of people, a lot of people don't realize how expensive it is actually to have a funeral. When you die, actually it's really expensive, particularly if you're buried. It's cheaper if you're cremated, but it's you know, it is expensive. So this is a mail pack going out to people, you know, people in their 50s and 60s. So again, you know, people who are aware of their own mortality. And actually what tends to happen, unfortunately, is that when you pass away, it's often your family that foots the bill, and it can come as quite a shock, actually, just how expensive it is. So what we did here is we used per regional data to say that actually, did you know in the Northwest, the real cost of a cremation funeral actually can be as much as this, and then we broke it down underneath. So actually this pack was a test actually against the previous pack. So you'll remember the first pack we did was basically just a reordering of the message, still with the same proposition. This then became our creative test. So a completely new proposition to see if that could beat it. This performed very well, and then that became the banker, and then else to see if we can beat it. So you're always looking for new propositions and new things you can say to try and persuade people to take up your offer. I said this right at the beginning. The one question that we always get asked, or I always get asked as a copywriter, is how long should the copy be? And it absolutely depends on what it is that you're trying to get the reader to do. So we always say, you know, copy should be long enough to reveal all the benefits of to overcome any of their objections and to persuade the reader to act. Now, depending on what you're actually trying to achieve, that kind of determines how much or how little copy you need to write. So, for example, this is a postcard from Land's End. The proposition here is basically 40% off, you and a friend, and that's it. I don't think you have to work if you're offering a discount of 40%, I don't think you really have to say any more than that, really, and that's why they can do it with a postcard. If all you're trying to do is get someone to go online and buy something that's very, very, heavily discounted, actually you don't need to work very hard to do that. So a simple postcard will suffice. And literally that postcard says. On the reverse is just the address carrier and the T's and C's on the back of those cards. Bowden go to a slightly bigger extent. They bother to put their little mailing into an envelope. I get these 2 or 3 times a year, so this obviously, these obviously work well for them. But again, it's basically, will you go and have a look at our party wear voucher if you spend over £30? So you're mailing customers who are already predisposed to shopping with your brand and offering them a discount for going and having a look at the website. You don't have to work very hard to do that. One thing I would just draw your attention to, though, on both of these packs. So on the Land's End pack, these 2 cards are tear outs, so they're perforated, so you can punch those out and give one to a friend. And then on the Bowden pack, they've attached a little voucher at the bottom. We always find if you have a discount offer, or or a money off offer, whatever it might be, if you make it look like a voucher, either like a gift card, Land's End example, or like this, a paper voucher, it always improves the response. Now, logically, it shouldn't, but it always does. And again, I think it goes back to that idea of, like on the Royal London pack, visualizing the offer, bringing it feel more tangible, and you get a better response. But just an aside, simple proposition, very, very short copy. Now look at this. This is a mail pack from Majestic Wine. And basically this is what they're asking you to do. You can see it on the back of the envelope, the white side there. Essentially, they're asking you to spend £80 on 12 bottles of wine. You'll get an extra 3 bottles for free, and you'll get free delivery. So that's basically what they're asking you to do. Now, the thing that's interesting about this is that, this is potentially quite a hard sell, because actually, most people buy their wine in the supermarket, and most people buy it. Most people don't buy 12 bottles of wine in one go, unless you're having a party or something like that. Okay, what mail pack is trying to get the readers to do is something that's that's not unusual for them. So therefore the pack has to work a lot harder. So you get this envelope which visualizes all the bottles of wine on the front, visualizes the 3 extra bottles of wine on the back, reiterates how much this is worth, tells you that 25,000 people have already done this, reassuring you that lots and lots of people do it. Then you get a double-sided letter signed from the managing director. You also get this little tip on the side, which again reiterates the offer. Then you get a 6-page roll fold, which basically tells you all about these wines. It details every single wine that you're going to get for this amazing offer, and it keeps reiterating how much you save, what you get free, that you don't pay anything for delivery, that it's only 80 quid. So it really works very, very hard to persuade you that this is a good thing to do. You also get a little, there's a little 2-page insert in it as well, and this tells you all about the 3 free bottles of wine, which apparently are worth 36 quid. So you can see that the difference in the length of is really determined by, how out of the ordinary the proposition is. So how hard do you have to work to change the reader's behavior? Right, you're writing to customers that you've spoken to before, and you want them to go and have a look at a new range of dresses. You're not going to have to work very hard to do that. If you're asking someone to buy an £80 bottle of an £80 case of wine for the first time, you have to work very hard to persuade someone to do that, because they've got all sorts of reasons why they might not want to do that. You know, but mainly buy it from the supermarket. I don't need that much wine, you know, etc., etc. So this mail pack works extremely hard to persuade you that actually lots of people do this, and there are lots and lots of good reasons why you should do it too. So what should you put inside inside a mailing pack? Well, the way to think about it really is every single individual piece inside a mailing pack essentially demands to be read in its own right. So, you know, if you've got particular messages that you want people to look at, then actually, you know, put them on a separate flyer. That's that's why you do it, because if each individual piece is saying, look, read me, I'm important. So that's why you put lots of pieces inside the mail pack. So, you know, Majestic have included that, you know, these are the free bottles of wine. So, you know, it's like the job of this leaflet is to say, you know, we're giving you these wines free, but these are not crap bottles of wine. These are really, really good. They're from our award-winning definition range. They're going to explain to you why all of these, you know, why this is a really, really good offer. But you've also, you know, it's not just about why things are good. It's also about trying to counteract the reasons why people are wary of acting, of buying, or of choosing your brand. So each individual piece actually can act as a confidence booster. I'll show you what I mean by that. This is a company called Avalon. Now, Avalon sell funeral plans. Funeral plans are pretty expensive. Their cheapest one is about 20 quid a month. You know, and you pay this for quite a number of years. So in the end, you're talking about thousands of pounds. You know, so this is no small purchase. So we included a double-sided letter, but then we also included these two little pieces, which you can see either side of it. The first is a list of frequently asked questions. And the frequently asked questions are always written in the first person. So, you know, why should I consider because basically what you're doing is you're trying to put yourself in the customer's shoes. You know, if you imagine that the letter is written from the voice of the brand, the sort of list of FAQs give you a different voice. They allow the reader's voice to be heard, and that, I think, is reassuring. The little leaflet on the left-hand side is basically a list of testimonials. So, you know, Avalon are the most trusted funeral plan provider because they've got, you know, 4,000 5-star reviews on Trustpilot, and there's some really good stuff there actually. So, you know, it's always, you know, if you are set up with Trustpilot or FIFO or whatever, actually it's worth keeping hold of the good testimonials, because again, it's voice of a reassuring voice to the mail pack, which can be quite. Swinton do a sort of similar thing. Actually, they have more leaflets than this. They use their leaflets to cross-sell. So if you're buying home insurance, they'll cross-sell home emergency cover or breakdown cover of its car insurance. They'll use them to reiterate benefits of the actual insurance. This was at a time that their above the line campaign was this thing called "Turn nagging doubt into nothing to worry about." So we created these leaflets that basically helped reassure the reader of what they were buying, you know, of the quality of the cover. But we also had one that talked about you know, the reviews they had on Trustpilot, one that talked about the testimonials. We had one that was about the people that worked in the call center, and because the call center staff had won an award for service. You could put one in here about, you know, claim stories. You know, in a sense, it's difficult to know how to claim on it. So actually, if you've got stories that are about, you know, ultimately what happened, you know, how successful people's claims were, or how quick or how fast, or, you know, that kind of thing, then actually, again, that's very, very powerful. But basically, as a rule, leaflets as you can afford to, because they're an opportunity to get a message to life. I haven't really touched much on formats, because the thing about formats is you can literally do absolutely anything. You can mail absolutely anything you like. So anything is possible format wise. But the key thing you always have to remember is what's your reason for changing format. So for most brands, you know, the most common sort of format that we see is a C5 outer with an A4 folded letter, and then with some variation of the leaflets that I've just shown you, either double-sided or the little sort of long, thin ones. I think the main reason for changing the format is basically to help bring the proposition to life, to make the proposition more compelling. So I'll give you a couple of examples of that. The question you always have to ask yourself, though, is how much is a new customer worth? Because essentially, if you start changing formats, or the more elaborate the formats, the more expensive it becomes. So essentially, you can't format really just for change's sake. There has to be a sort of reason for doing it, and that has to be balanced against how much you can actually afford to spend to, you know, to get a new customer, or how much a new customer is worth to you. So, for example, this is a pack that we did a couple of years ago for this is a company called ResponseTap. Now, ResponseTap are a MarTech company. And essentially, we were trying to talk to people very much like ourselves. So ResponseTap wanted to talk to people who worked in agencies, account directors, basically. And the proposition was essentially, look, if you introduce us to your client who you think might benefit from sell, we will enter you into a prize draw to win an amazing, all expenses paid weekend in Paris. So in order to dramatize that proposition, to bring that to life, you know, we did this. So we made it look like it was coming from Eurostar. So the envelope was really nice, sort of heavy stock. On the front, it simply says "Répondez s'il vous plaît," so it tells you that we were expecting a response. I can't remember if these were real stamps or they were just sort of made to look like real stamps. But again, you know, if you put a real stamp on it, it suggests that, or it signals that it's only a select group of people that are getting them. You know, if it's got a mail sort thing on it, it means these are going to like thousands and thousands of people. So actually, when you put a stamp on it, something by a courier, it suggests, you know, this is really important, and you're only, you know, you're one of a small number of people who are going to get this. And then inside, we basically showed them what the prize was. So this was essentially it was a 5-star hotel, at the Eiffel Tower, first class Eurostar tickets there and back, dinner at a Michelin starred restaurant. That was the prize. So this was all about dramatizing the prize. Now, I forget what the figures are, but basically a new customer to ResponseTap is worth hundreds of thousands of pounds. So actually they can afford to spend on their mail packs to try and reach people. And this was a really, really successful pack. I mean, essentially what we were doing is asking people for a favor. You know, can you do us a favor and, you know, get your client to get in touch with us, so that we can demonstrate our amazing software. But actually, because the prize was so compelling, actually a lot of people did this. Here's something completely different. This is a couple of years old. This came through my door. It was around the time British advert with the cute penguin. So this is a personalized message, just a door drop. So this wasn't addressed mail. This was a door drop, but this was a die cut. So this is, you know, you can't see it very well because of the way I've scanned it, but basically this was a penguin-shaped mailing to basically say that, you know, we are installing smart meters in Trafford at the moment. So, who can resist, or who could fail to notice a penguin shape coming through the post? And this, I think, is really clever. I got this the other day. Again, it's just a door drop, but I think this is really, really clever. Ben's Gutters are actually a nationwide company, and that's what they do. They basically send people around to your house to empty your gutters, at the start of autumn. What I think is really clever about this is that they've basically gone to the trouble of making this look like it's handwritten. So actually, if you Google this, you'll find other examples of this. And I think the genius of it is basically that it appeals to that sense of social proof. We're doing something with your neighbour, in the next few days. So maybe you'd like to have it done as well. If your neighbour's having it done, it must be okay. So, you can act as well. But also, I think the style of handwriting is quite clever. I think people are quite wary of workmen coming to the house. And I think there's something about this, the trouble they've gone to make this look like a handwritten letter, I think is quite clever. It's just about sort of softening this faceless organisation's proposition, and make it easier for people to respond. So you've got people looking through your mail pack. Once they've got to the point where they're thinking they want to respond, what can you do writing wise to overcome that inertia? So this really is about how to write calls to action. 4 ways that we've always found work quite well. The first is personal. So whenever you personalize a letter, essentially what you're doing is getting people to notice that particular message. People are drawn to their own name in writing. So don't just write "Dear" at the top or write it in the headline. Stick it somewhere else in the bottom if you can, and in the call to action at the bottom. Stuart, give us a call now on 0800 and see how much we can save you. So you're making it personal, but also you're telling them that they're ringing up to see how much we can save you. So there's you're implying there's a good chance we can save you money. Take away the risk. Call this number now to get your free no quibble, no obligation quote. Nothing to lose, plenty to save. So tell people that actually you're not committing to anything by doing this. People don't like the idea that of stuck on the phone getting the hard sell. So actually reassure them that there's no obligation. Again, offer some social proof. Call this number to see if you're one of the thousands of people we can save money for. Whoever you are, whatever your I think this was an insurance company, there'll always be a certain proportion of people who you can save money for. So call this number to see if you're one of the hundreds of people that we save money for. We can save money for today. So make it seem like it's something that happens all the time. We're always saving money for people. You could be the next one. Or try a different tack. Maybe it's not about the benefit. Maybe it's about avoiding something negative. So call us today on this number to see if you're paying too much for your car insurance. So again, it's about avoiding a negative outcome rather than the promise of gaining something. So that is pretty much it, I think. Yes. So it's a bit of a whistle-stop tour through envelopes, through letters, through the contents of a mail pack to how to write call to actions. Hopefully that's been useful. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Stuart. Really enjoyed that. Thank you. I just thought I'd share very quickly a DM that I received this morning from a prospective supplier, a data company. Just reminded me of it because of Stuart's Ben's Gutters. I was also sent a handwritten note today from a data supplier called Data Center Plus. They also sent me a free gift. I get sent lots of things through the post, branded materials, etc., branded pens, branded mouse mats. But today I was sent a branded face mask. I thought was rather apt. Yeah, so it's got the logo on there, etc., etc. So yeah, just a little interesting DM that I received through the post this morning. So thank you, Stuart. If you have any questions, please do use the question and answers chat box at the bottom. As you may be composing your questions, I'll quickly just update you all on just one more time on the forthcoming masterclasses. Next week is myself and Elizabeth presenting 6 Inbox Secrets, which is looking at ways in which to improve clickability with regards to your email marketing. The following week is Cooking Up Content, which will be looking at ways in which to devise a robust content marketing strategy for organic rankings, for your organic keywords. And then finally, we have Adrian Rowe, who presented last week, alongside Andy Craig, our search specialist, looking at tips and advice around how to manage the perfect Google shopping campaign. We have a comment. Oh, right, it's from Phil. Thank you, Phil. Thanks. Many thanks, Stuart. Really good and really interesting. Cheers. Thank you very much, Phil. Okay, as I mentioned, today's session has been recorded, so I will send over the link to today's session so you can share it with your colleagues, friends and family members, or indeed just go over some of Stuart's thoughts from today's session. So if we have no questions, I will...
I can see a couple of questions here actually from Bev.
Oh, right.
It's the Q&A.
Sorry, Bev. I apologise.
So Bev has asked, in your experience, are you finding more companies are resorting to direct mail rather than email? I think it's more that people are coming back to direct mail from email. The other thing to say, I think, and I think this sometimes gets lost, is the idea that it's one or the other. And actually it's not. I think what people, or what brands did probably about 10 years ago was decided that actually mail is prohibitively expensive, therefore we can just do everything that we can do in mail but in email. So there's a big sort of switch over to email. But of course, Red Sea is a big, we're big fans of email. We have a lot of email clients. What we tend to find though actually is the brands that still do email and mail get a better response. You tend to get more valuable sales and leads from direct mail than you do from email, and I think that's just down to competition basically. You probably people get hundreds of emails every week, if not every day, but actually you don't get that much mail. So certainly we tend to find that the people who still use mail for particular propositions, actually it works well. Your second question about have you got stats to suggest more people are actually reading and prefer direct mail to email? The place for that is Royal Mail. Royal Mail offer a lot of free research. There was a big campaign they did a couple of years ago called Mailmen, which literally, what they basically did is set up cameras in people's homes and sort of basically filmed what happens when they receive mail through the letterbox. And what they basically discovered is that actually, for all these people who say, no, the mail that comes through the letterbox goes straight in the bin, is very far from the truth. Actually, what happens is people will take mailings, they'll often get squirreled away, in the kitchen somewhere, and they'll get read in the evening. We still have, I still get a lot of catalogs, little mini catalogs, for the same reason. I think it's a bit like the Domino's example. If you're a brand that sells fashion or holidays or things that people like to read about, it still makes sense to sort of put your stuff in front of people and allow them to peruse it at their own leisure. But for the specific facts and figures, head to Royal Mail. There's some really good free content there.
Just one thing to further add to the first question. As someone who sort of deals with Red Seas new business, I've noticed over the last 6 months or so, possibly even longer, I'm seeing many more direct mail queries than I ever have done. I'm not suggesting for one moment that is replacing email marketing, because I don't believe it is, but I completely agree with Stuart. I think many companies are looking to do, you're sending out a DM, which is generally your biggest investment, and then following up that activity with email marketing. We do that with many clients. Okay, I've actually got a copy of that piece of research that Stuart made reference to. So I might take some screen grabs and send you all some copies of that, if I can lay my hands on it. I'm in the office today. Okay, if there aren't any further questions, I will draw a close to today's session. So thank you very much for attending. Really do appreciate the support with this initiative. Thank you very much, and I do hope you enjoyed today's session. If you do have a moment, it would be great if you could share or like any LinkedIn posts that we publish with regards to today's session and future virtual midweek masterclasses. That would be fantastic. Thank you, guys. Thanks for attending.
Thank you very much.